The Dick Corbett head football coach, Marcus Freeman. Coach Freeman will begin with some opening statements. After that, please raise your hand so we can get you a microphone for one question and one follow-up question. Coach Freeman.
All right. I want to start off just saying Happy Veterans Day to anybody in this room or obviously that's watching that served. My father served, so it's an important day to me. And we got a couple guys on our team that are, previously served. Eric Goins served in the Army, and then two guys that are in the Army ROTC, Jerry Rulo and Mick Brown. So just want to make sure to recognize those guys. Looking back at the Florida State game, really good win. It was really good, and it was good in all three phases, a lot of good. Wasn't perfect. We want perfect. We strive for perfection, but there was a lot of good from that game. I think I said this post-game, but again, the challenge for myself and our program is consistency, right? That's, to me, the greatest sign of greatness is consistency. And, we got to continue to prepare the way we've been preparing, elevate the way we're preparing, and in terms, produce the outcome and the performance on Saturdays that we've had over the past couple weeks. Winning a turnover margin and field position battle is something we've done really well in the past couple games, and we have to continue to do that. It was good to see our punt block unit finally get their hands on 2 punts. It was big. We've been close all year, but to finally get our hands on 2 punts was really big for that unit. I want to make sure I recognize the students again, the crowd, and everyone that had a part of making Saturday night's environment really special. It was really a sight to see. It was a great environment, and I know it had an impact on the game. As you guys know, wins don't last long around here, so we got to move forward and get ready for a really good Virginia team coming in here on Saturday. Players of the game on offense were Jadarian Price, defense Riley Mills, and special teams Adon Schuler. And the scout players of the week were on offense Charlie Sona, on defense Brennan Vernon, and special teams Jack Polian. A couple injury updates. Howard Cross will be out this week with an ankle. It's not a long-term thing, but we made a determination. Doctors made a determination probably he's going to be out this week, and so we'll hope to get him back the following week, depending on how the rehab continues to happen. Max Hurleman is right now listed as questionable. Talking to him, he's probably probable, knowing Max, but we are going to list him as questionable right now. Devin Ford, questionable, and Logan Thomas, we'll list him as questionable right now, but I think by the end of the week he'll be probable to play. Moving forward to Virginia, Coach Elliott has done a great job. He has his team really playing at a high level, playing with confidence, competitive. They're 3-1 on the road, I think, this year, and they've been up in every game they've played this season. And so they had a huge win last week versus Pitt, and they're a talented bunch, and they're playing that way with confidence and physicality. So we're expecting their best and expect a great challenge Saturday in Notre Dame Stadium for our senior day. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
On your right, front row, Eric Hansen.
Hey, Coach. With the transfer portal the way it is now, you face former players a lot more often than you did back in the day where you could block guys, I guess. So when a guy like Chris Tyree comes to town and so forth, how do you protect the knowledge he has about the playbook and signals and how the program works, having been in it, or is it just so changed from year to year that there's no danger of that?
Yeah, that's not a concern of ours. We got a new offensive coordinator, obviously, new signals, new terminology. So I'm not concerned about that, but really respect Chris as a person, as a football player. I'm just glad he's got his Notre Dame degree, and he's a talented football player that we'll have to account for in the special teams battle and also the offensive phase.
And you mentioned what a great atmosphere the night game was, and I'm wondering, as a coach, Would you like to see more night games? I realize some years there are more, but not a whole bunch of them. Would you like to see more night games at Notre Dame Stadium, or is the exclusivity of it kind of make it more special?
You know, it's a double-edged sword, as they say. The atmosphere environment is different at night games. We know that. It's just, it's a little bit, I don't know if it's the lights, it's the crowd, I don't know what it is. It's electric. But there's also a cost on the back end of that, right? And maybe it's that. I don't know if anybody can see what you just did, but maybe it's that. But the back end of that, man, is the lack of rest, right? You lose the valuable sleep and recovery that you need post-game on Saturdays, especially a night away game, but even at home. And I think our players, obviously, Sunday, they have their day off, so they can try to recover a little bit. But, you know, coaches, we're up and we're at it. You know, we got to go. And so that's the cost of having some of those electric games at night. But, again, if Pete wants to schedule more night games, I'm all for it.
Up the middle aisle, Sean Stiers.
Hey, Marcus, you touched a little last week about sort of adjusting, you know, the workloads heading into November and that kind of stuff. When you've got two backs like Jeremiah and Jadarian, and they've got relatively, you know, low carries per game and that kind of thing, how does that sort of impact them just in terms of their ability to stay dynamic, that kind of thing, going into this final stretch, and kind of coupled with that, sort of how they've, you know, continue to balance that buy-in with that?
Yeah, it's huge. It's been great. Coach McCullough does a great job of getting those guys in that room to buy into. There is not just one guy, right? We need the entire unit. He does a great job of establishing plays or series for certain guys, but also keeping them all involved. And you know, to do that, you got to continue to establish that mindset of team glory. Like, whatever it takes for us to achieve the outcome that we want, I'm willing to do that, you know. And it's tough, man, when everything outside of our building a lot of times is about individual glory, right, about individual recognition. But really credit goes to Coach McCullough, those guys in that room that put team first. And it keeps them, you know, every hit they don't have to take is an added hit they can take as the season goes on. And so it keeps them fresh. I think their skill sets, right, as you look back to Aldrich in that room last year to this year, like, the skill sets of those guys are different, and it's something that a defense has to account for.
And then we've seen kind of pieces of Aeneas, obviously, over the course of this season a little bit more, especially Saturday night. What have you seen kind of from his continued development? Yeah,
progression, man. He is he is improving. He is a guy that coaches have built. He's built a lot of trust from the coaches. You know, they trust him in there in all situations, and he's making some things happen now with the ball in his hands. He was doing a good job early in the season as a freshman of getting his job done without the ball in his hands. Now he's doing some things with the ball in his hands that are impacting our offense. And so, again, it takes time, man, and he's expedited that process by the work he's put in, and he's really helping us tremendously.
Third row on your right, Tim Priester.
Coach, since you became head coach here, you've done a good job in one-sided games in your favor of getting meaningful reps for your backup players. How mapped out is that in advance of the game, and what have you noticed in terms of player engagement for the guys that get opportunities to have meaningful reps?
You know, early in the season, it's not mapped out much. You kind of just – it depends on the flow of the game. But I think as you get later in the season, you do have to have discussions on guys that have played 3 games, the young guys, right, that have played 3 games. And, hey, if we have an opportunity to put some backups in, would we put this guy in the game, right? And that's kind of the only discussions we have. You just never know how the game's going to go, right? And so I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about, hey, if we're up by this many points, who's going in, but that's where we have that discussion really more than anything is with freshmen. You know, I hope our players maybe that aren't starting understand that, you know, at any moment you can be put into the game. And I think what we have to do as coaches, the greatest compliment, they might not like it, the greatest compliment we can give those guys that go in the game is to hold them to the standard that we hold anybody to. Like, we can't make excuses for guys that are backups or guys that maybe don't practice as much with the older guys for their play. Like, we hold them to a high standard, the same standard we hold the starters to. And I hope, maybe not in the moment, because it's never fun to, get challenged and, maybe criticized at times, but I hope they look back and appreciate that they're held to the same standard as the starters.
And in your other coaching stops, what the head coaches that you work for, how much was that emphasized? And then yourself playing for Coach Tressel, how did he approach it?
I think it's the same philosophy. I think you give the wrong message sometimes when you talk about, hey, if we're up by this many points, we're going to put you in the game. I think that's the wrong message. But the message is always be ready. You have to prepare. No matter if you're physically getting those practice reps, you have to mentally prepare so that when you get an opportunity, whenever that is, to go in the game, that you can get your job done. Because you know what? Sometimes we wish to be starters, but you're granted the opportunity to get 3-4 reps at the end of the game. Well, there's your chance to put something on film that impresses your coaches. And so that's probably the message that I've heard and that I portray more than anything is that, you don't know what your opportunity is going to be, right? And when it's going to happen, but you have to make sure you're ready for it.
Front row on your left, Jack Sobel.
Marcus, kind of along the lines of Tim's questions, like you've talked a couple times this season about the importance of playing well when the game's already in hand and winning that second half. Like, what are some of the reasons that's important to you?
I think it's a sign of handling success. And I think that was important. It was something we really talked about at halftime of the Purdue game, right? Is that I told us the greatest lesson we learned from the NIU game was we weren't ready to handle success. Well, how can you show during a game you're ready to handle success is that you can be up at halftime and go out there with the same mindset that you did to start the game. And it's easy to say, for me, it's one play, one life, right? Stay in the moment, win the moment. But as you look at the totality of a game, that's a way you can tell, hey, is this group able to handle success?
And with cross out, obviously Heinrich's going to start at nose tackle. What did you see from him? He obviously had the 2 sacks in Saturday night. And with Heinrich and Cross, you've kind of gone with the smaller, quicker guys at the nose tackle spot as opposed to 3 technique. I'm curious what you like about those guys there.
Again, it goes back to recruiting. I mean, Howard was here before I got here, but he performs at a high level. There's a reason why Howard Cross has made the impact that he's made for as long as he has. With Donnie, I think as you look at what Kurt did, right, and the impact Kurt Heinrich had on our defense, without hesitation, did you say, hey, Donnie might not be 6'3", 6'4", but we know what we're getting out of him. Part of it is the way he was raised. I mean, he's a tough dude that is really just worked his way to be a really good player. He plays that way. And so, again, we're not going to just take a whole bunch of maybe undersized height-wise D tackles, but the ones we do take have to have an impact on the game, and both Howard and Donnie both have had a huge impact.
Front row on your right, Pete Sampson.
I was interested in the sort of repetition of the ACC opponents that you play from a preparation scouting standpoint, how you guys benefit from that, where you see maybe some common opponents where, one opponent plays another, or you have a little bit more familiarity with opponents year over year?
I can't even think. Well, Louisville was a common one from last year. I can't think of another one, right?
I mean, there's not a lot in terms of, you see Florida State, Georgia Tech played earlier.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. There might be some benefits to that. I just think that each week you kind of go in with a neutral mind and you kind of evaluate what you see on film. I mean, if you play a team back-to-back, in terms of years, and they have the same coach and coordinators, you have an idea of what you did the year before. You'll use that into your cut-ups that you game plan off of. But, I don't know if them playing a common opponent truly helps us. Now, maybe if you know somebody on the staff, right, that of the opponent they played, you can make a phone call and see what they saw. But I don't think there's much benefit to it right now.
Maybe this is making too much of what was ultimately an incompletion, but Mitchell Evans' pass that got caught and then overruled. Like, is there a boost for him on that? Because it looked like Mitchell Evans from October pre-ACL.
Yeah, he played the best game he's played all year, the most complete game in the run and the pass game that he's played all year. It was great to see him make that touchdown, and that catch was a big-time catch. I know it was incomplete, but that's the Mitchell Evans that we've been waiting on. And again, he's finally getting back to that guy, but it was good to see him play his most complete game he played all year.
Front row on your left, Tyler Horka.
I'll piggyback off of Tim's question as well. I'm curious, with the amount of garbage time opportunities you guys have had this year, how do you evaluate the actual play of those players against, sometimes they're playing against starters on the other side, sometimes they're not, but when you see them do good things, do you say, okay, this is maybe something they can do in a first or second quarter?
Absolutely. You evaluate the play. You evaluate the competition they're going against, but you truly evaluate, hey, can this guy be trusted? Can he get his job done at a high level? And that's part of the evaluation. The other part of evaluation, if you're considering playing a guy earlier, is going to be in practice. Can you consistently get your job done in practice and in the opportunities you have in a game? But we definitely have a lot of value put into those plays.
A bit of uncharted territory being this late into a year and still being in a position to make the playoffs. So I'm curious how you guys are kind of handling final fourth of the season, everything that we need to do. This is what we need to do to remain in that picture.
Every game, this game's the Super Bowl. And no matter if we were in the playoff hunt or not, that's the same mindset we have, man, is that you get 12 of these guaranteed opportunities, right? And I told the team in the locker room, we're guaranteed one more opportunity here in Notre Dame Stadium for these seniors. And so to think about anything other than that, you're doing this game a disservice. Like, they work 300 days a year for 12 guaranteed opportunities, no matter if this game determines if we make the playoffs or not. And so coming from a player, coming from a coach, like, this is what you work for all year long. And so to make a game mean less than another game because you're going to make the playoffs or not, you don't love this game of football, man. And that's the mindset we have, man. Every week is the Super Bowl.
Front row on your right, John Bryce.
Marcus, you started by commenting on Veterans Day, and I wonder just how much you've discussed your dad's service through the years with him, maybe how much that shaped you, and if you have any sort of, I know Air Force Base is listed as your home.
I can't remember what I used to describe his generation. It was I can't remember what the word was, silent generation. That's my dad, right? Like, he doesn't talk much about, his time in the service. We don't spend much time talking, but I grew up to respect those that serve our country. I have the utmost respect for those that serve for many different reasons. But no, we have never really discussed a lot of the details of his time, his 26 years in the service. But that's kind of really life. Like I've always said this, like, you learn your greatest lessons from what you see, not from what people say. Sometimes as coaches, we think it's what we say, but more, the greatest lessons I learned as a young person is from what I saw, what you modeled. That's how I gained my opinion and learned lessons about people. And it's the same way with my father. In the same way, I hope I remind myself that the people that I'm in a position to lead learn from me. It's not always what you say, it's what they see.
And then I guess it's a theme here, piggybacking off of Tim and Tyler. When you can get that volume of reps over the course of a season for those younger guys, do you notice that it puts them appreciably ahead when spring camp starts the ensuing year?
Yeah, it is. Those game reps are so valuable. They're so valuable. You can practice, man. But to get some of those younger guys game reps is huge. To look at some of the guys that we had play against Florida State, like, that's big. That's something that you probably never thought as you looked to the future would have really happened. And it's awesome. And they got to understand that you got to be ready for the opportunity. man, you got to be ready for this opportunity no matter when it happens. And hopefully they value that, and we'll use it as we continue to move forward.
Third row on your left, Pete Byrne.
Hey, Marcus. We've heard you talk a lot about your message to your players being about, the diligence of their preparation, and, Saturday success is only as good as what they did the previous few days. Was there a point in this season that you feel like that really kind of sunk in with those guys, because it seems like they've gotten that?
Mm-hmm. I wish I could say there was just one moment that it happened, but I think you earn validity by seeing the outcome, right? You push them, and then they get the outcome that they want. They say, okay, coach is right, or the plan is right. I think they all know how important preparation is, but the performance has really been at a high level. And so I believe they understand that. They believe that. And that's all I know. Like, I don't want to say that we don't make in-game adjustments. Like, we're not executing, because that matters, right? You got to do it on Saturday. But to give yourself a better chance to do that, you got to do it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And that's so important. But our coaches are making great in-game adjustments and putting our guys in position to execute and make plays. But the other part of that is, like, you've heard me say this before, but the future's uncertain, right? So why are you daydreaming about Saturday when all you have is today? So put your focus into today, right, into this practice, into this preparation, and when Saturday comes, we'll be ready to go. Because
they've done that better and better the last several weeks, how much confidence do you have, and does this team have right now as you kind of head into this final month?
There's a lot of confidence. I think there's a lot of confidence. I'm confident. This team is confident. But I also know that, with success can creep in complacency, and that's what keeps me up at night is that, where's the fine line, like, from being confident and complacency being able to creep in. That's the thing that I sit behind my desk and think about all the time, is about, okay, where can we find ways to get better? I want them to enjoy success. Like, I don't want Notre Dame, our football program, to be a place that's miserable after you have a great win like we did. But there's also a part of me that, I want to be greedy. Like, this isn't good enough. This isn't the standard. We got to attack and we got to fix it. Great job. You guys played well on Saturday. I'm proud of you guys. Great job. But here's what we got to focus on and improve. And so confidence is good. We have a lot of confidence, but we also know there's a lot of room for improvement.
Up the aisle, Mike Berardino.
Luke Talich had a moment there at the end, and I wondered, just in terms of special teams, he's one of your top performers in coverage, and in the base time that he does get in safety. What kind of years has been of growth for him, and what was your interaction with him after his highlight play?
Yeah, it was great to see, man. It kind of caught me by surprise because they were moving the ball on us a little bit, and I'm, trying not to lose my mind as they moved the ball, and he came out of nowhere, man. That was a huge play. He kind of caught it with two hands, switched it to one hand as I watch film. Don't love that, tuck the ball away. But, Luke can run. And I thought it was a no-brainer touchdown. And I saw that quarterback getting pretty close to him, and I said, oh, hold on, Luke. But to see him finish that play, man, it's great, man. Luke works tirelessly. He's been a great member of our team. He provides depth, obviously, in our safeties room, and he's an impact player on special teams, and he embraces and values his role. And we need everybody in our program to not be satisfied, but embrace their role for this week. Whatever this role is for this week, you have to embrace it, because for us to achieve team glory, every person in that room, every coach, every player has to have conviction that my role is important as anybody else's to get done for us to achieve the glory that we want. And so I know I'm going off on a tangent about something else, but Luke is he's been vital for us. He's improving, and he's got a great future for us.
Thanks. And then there's only 5 teams in the country, I think, that are in top 12 in scoring offense and scoring defense. You talk about complementary football every week, but as you evaluate opponents week to week, as you evaluate your own team, how meaningful is it? How is it sometimes just that simple of being a balanced team where you don't know where the danger is coming from?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I don't want to hear that sometimes, but it is. It's for us to have success, for us to reach our full potential, as you guys love to hear me say. It's going to take being balanced. It's going to take being balanced on each side of the ball, right? On offense, we got to be balanced in terms of run game and pass game. Defensively, we got to continue to improve stopping the run. We got to be great in our pass game, and special teams has to add into it too. But great teams are balanced. Great teams. It's hard for me to believe that there's a team that's number one in the country in offense, but terrible on defense, and they're going to win a national championship, right? It's hard for me to believe you're great on defense, but you're off on offense. Like, you need to be balanced and have complementary football to truly have success.
In the back at the cameras, Levon Whitaker.
Coach, you talked about the younger guys plenty of times, but I'm curious about the seniors in this matchup this Saturday. Your thoughts on this being their final game here at home, and then that possibly the expectations of seeing Chris Tyree and him being back here in Notre Dame Stadium.
Yeah, I think I answered that earlier, man. Like, love Chris. Obviously going against him, the talent he is. He's a really good football player, and again, man, I'm so happy for him that he got his Notre Dame degree. That's big. That's important. For our Senior Day is special. I think everybody, their emotions are different, right? And my emotions as a senior might be different than my teammates and our guys, the guys we have running out there for Senior Day. Every person's emotions will be different as you run out there for one last time. But we all have to make sure you get your emotions under control before that song plays, before we get ready to kick that ball off or return. You have to get your emotions back into check. And so I want it to be special. This is a special group of seniors. I mean, I can go through every one and tell you how valuable they are to me as an individual and to us as a program. I want them to enjoy their senior day because it isn't something that happens every year. Like, they've had to wait for this moment. They've worked for this moment. Everybody's journey's been different. But I'm grateful to be a part of this journey with them, and I'm grateful to see them run out there on a senior day. It's a special day.
And kind of a two-part question. As far as the defense, you talked about them moving the ball late in the game. They were kind of off and on able to move the ball in the run game. And then the offense, I know you said you want perfection, but where's the balance and where's the team right now as far as where you expect them to be and going into the last game of the regular season?
Yeah. Again, we're as you look back, big picture-wise, we're improving. We're playing well on Saturdays, but we dissect the details, and often you're evaluated based off outcomes and big pictures, but the details are what matter. Every play matters, and you know what? Riley might have had a 40-yard rushing touchdown, but hold on, did everybody on that play get your job done? Don't look at Riley scoring a touchdown, right? Did you get your block? Did you get your block? We might have had a sack, right? Great play. Riley Mills might have had a sack. Were you at corner? Did you have the perfect leverage? Were you exactly where you needed to be? And so that's how we dissect this game, man. It's that we can't look out the outcomes, and we should feel good about it, but we got to evaluate every single play with a critical eye.
Coach, that's our time for today. Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.